Hey, what's up, nerdies? English Dave here to introduce another episode of Back to the Feature, where my co-host Raven and I talk about movies from the past in the present, as long as they're over 20 years old. What's up, Raven?
What up, Dave?
How are you?
Good, man.
This past week, Raven and I watched 1987's Lethal Weapon, the famous buddy cop comedy starring Danny Glover and Mel Gibson, directed by Richard Donner and written by Shane Black. This is the second Richard Donner movie that we're doing in our Back to the Feature series, the first one being The Goonies. And The Goonies was first, right? That was before this.
I think so, yeah. Goonies is like...
I forget the date.
I want to say it's 87, though, both of them, right?
He couldn't have released two movies in 1 year.
Hold on.
Check for us. Also, this was Shane Black's, while Raven is checking, this was Shane Black's first
1985, The Goonies.
Oh, Goonies are 85. Okay, so he did this after The Goonies. That makes sense. Like I was saying, this is Shane Black's first commissioned script. He made $250,000 for the script, Raven. The original cut that he did wasn't as good as he wanted of the script, original draft, and then he redid it, and then he sent it off to the studio. A couple of studios didn't like it.
The craziest thing is like $250,000 is like definitely his big break.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely. Just crazy because I'm sure now he gets paid like millions. From Lethal Weapon to Iron Man 3, which is everyone's least favorite, but I love that movie. I
love Iron Man 3.
And actually, I will say, rewatching Lethal Weapon, also you see that through line, or you completely understand how that director could go on and do Iron Man 3. Some people argue that it's the same movie, but regardless, I think Shane Black has a style. No,
you can see that this was Shane Black's first written film, but you can see that this has his style all over it. More so than Richard Donner. I think Richard Donner, he's the kind of director, he's flexible. He goes from doing The Goonies to Lethal Weapon. He did all the Lethal Weapon movies. And
Richard Donner did all four?
Yeah. And he also, Shane Black didn't return for the others. He didn't do the others. And you can kind of tell. I think some of the things you can kind of tell because they become bigger and more explosive.
I was going to say the following movies get ridiculous.
Yeah, no,
it's the same thing as with the Die Hard movies. Same
it's a
thing.
Die Hard effect, because I think this has a similar thing to Die Hard where there's not
trying
as much
to keep up with those 90s action movies.
Right, there's not as many explosive action gunfights as you might think.
No, not really. I can only think of one fight scene and one gun scene, really.
And they're very like they're dramatic for its time. Yes, but they're not.
Mel Gibson's fight in the rain was extremely dramatic. That was extremely dramatic. I think that was one of the moments that kind of pulled me out of it. Yeah. I was like, "Come on, '80s film."
I see, but that's the thing. I think that's for its time. It definitely is.
Like if it was, you know what it is? It's like I'm spoiled by really good fight scenes now and like practical fight scenes.
And that's what I was gonna say.
When you see stuff like that, and I was also thinking while I was watching it, like, did they go out of their way to get a rain machine? Like, they got a rainmaker and this shit? Because I'm like, aren't they in, like, what is it, California? Vegas?
No, because you see...
Looks like a desert area. I'm like, why is it raining?
No, they set up that scene perfectly, actually. I think the setup of it is perfect. Because what happens is the bad guy's car crashes into the hydrant earlier on in the scene.
Oh, it's a hydrant.
And it lets the water flying everywhere.
Because I was like, what is this water? I felt like I blinked and I looked up and I was like, why is it raining?
No, it was a hydrant.
So that's what I missed.
The police helicopter comes and shines a light. It's like a perfect spotlight, and
okay.
I think the execution. I agree. The execution
that makes more sense then.
Could have been better, but I think the reason
because a lot of it is like zoom ins on like an elbow.
That I think that's Richard Donner. Richard Donner's lack of experience for action, cinematography, and whoever he worked with. I think that's what it is.
Semi-anticlimactic.
Because that
fight.
I think that fight is supposed to represent. I think throughout the whole entire film, we get these like snippets of the fact that these are guys who came out of Vietnam, and in some way that has affected them, right? And I think it's one of those films. And like every Shane Black film, it's very layered.
PTSD, man.
He loves his PTSD stories. He loves his layered characters, and then the more you watch it, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, our very favorite
People with troubled past, Harmony. For all of y'all listening, I'm sure we shouted it out 1,000 times, but please go watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Please.
Because like we can't review
nice
it.
Guys.
Sadly,
and the Nice Guys.
We can't review it because it's not 20 years old. But we want to talk about it. So you
Kiss
watch
Kiss
it.
Bang Bang.
And we'll
we might just do
it.
a special, just talk about Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
We'll just do a rooftop talk or something.
Yeah, we'll just do a takeover and do it that way. But yeah, I think it's actually let's go back. Let's start. As we usually start. Lethal Weapon, Raven. First time you watched this film, tell us about it.
I was with you. You made me watch this movie.
I know.
In college. When one of the first couple of weeks into meeting Dave and I met in college, and I had never seen it, and I did not like Danny Glover. Like, for years I protested watching his movies because I was convinced he really beat on Miss Celie in real life. He just did that role too well, and I just forever assumed that he was Mr. from Color Purple. But Dave really, really reeled me in, and I got over my head trip and finally decided to watch Lethal Weapon. And I forgot why I don't know if the show was coming out or if it just was just cause.
I think it was Shane Black.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think we went on a Shane Black marathon because we watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang first, and then we watched Lethal Weapon. We went back. Haha, look, it was like foreshadowing Back to the Future because we watched a current movie that made us go back and watch a past movie, which made us, in the future, go back to watch past movies again and make a podcast about it.
I see what you did there.
Oh,
I like that.
Killing it. Yeah, time travel. But
right.
so like when I finally watched it,
The Long Kiss Goodnight as well around that time.
Is that also Shane Black?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he wrote that.
Dude, that was one of my favorite movies before I even met you. Which, like, granted, we probably had this conversation, but I forget all the time that, like,
come on, the story has Shane Black tropes set around Christmas,
it makes so much
past
sense.
trauma.
Wow. Wait, so does that mean we're doing Long Kiss Goodnight next week because it's Christmas and not Christmas?
Okay, fine. I guess we're gonna have to. I guess
that one's 20 years, no?
That's definitely over 20 years. Do you know what that means? I think because I was thinking about this earlier on. That should we even do a Christmas movie? Because I feel like there's no Christmas movie I really want to discuss that's a straight Christmas movie that's over 20 years old. I feel like, that I want to go into discussion
other people
like that.
haven't already done.
Right? Because I was like, okay, why don't we just stay with Christmas, non-Christmas movies for the whole time?
Yeah, for the whole season.
Yeah, so, okay, let's do that then. The whole season.
Whole winter.
Perfect. That makes it even better.
Yeah, Long Kiss Goodnight was 96.
Yeah, so... we good.
Hell yeah, we're doing Long Kiss Goodnight. I fucking love that movie. What? Yes. I've never been so glad something's old in my life. Boom.
All right, we're doing Long Kiss Goodnight next week. I'll even use this snippet as the promo piece. Because I want to start doing promo pieces ahead of time so that let people know, hey, we're going to watch this movie.
And it's
watch
cool
it.
too because you could put a really cool sound effect.
Yes, there you go.
Like a rewind.
Fact, I'm going to use what you just did as the sound effect. So give me another one. There you go. I'm going to just use that literally. I'm not going to search for anything. I'm just going to use that myself. All right. What are we talking about? All right. Well, clearly I introduced you to Lethal Weapon because I love Lethal Weapon. As much as I love Die Hard, Lethal Weapon was a movie that I watched more. And I think that's purely because they had more movies. True. To watch as a series. They had more movies
and they were also more fun. I feel like after the first one, at least, the movies are like really lighthearted, fun, comedic, crazy.
Like for better and for worse, the movies do change up. And I think one thing that stays.
But I enjoyed all the movies.
I know I did 100% enjoyed all the movies when I was young. And I think my different eras of like film fandom, I've loved the different ones. There was a time when I absolutely loved number 4. Jet Li, because that was my martial arts phase.
Jet Li's my guy. That one was good. I think that one's my favorite.
But that's if I watch it again with an analytical eye, I can probably find so many flaws in it.
That was probably terrible.
Not terrible. I don't think terrible. I just think
no. It's probably just cheesy.
Like yeah, exactly. It's just straight. I think they become less layered.
Yeah.
So to speak, because the kill count is ramped up and things like that. But I also think that. The thing that maintains throughout the series, and that's the best thing the first one establishes, and why I've always loved the film, is the relationship with Riggs and Murtaugh. I think rewatching this movie and seeing how their relationship began, it has the typical aspects of it where the buddy relationship where they clash. That was not new in films, But I think how their relationship comes together and where it goes. And the two of them kind of going through parallel lives, but different. The movie opens with, we see bright, colorful Murtaugh's, Danny Glover's house with his family, surrounded by family. It's his birthday, but he's kind of not very happy that it's his birthday.
No.
So he's surrounded by happiness though. But he's like, but you're old, and his daughter's saying that, oh, you're old. By the way, his daughter, when I was younger, I had the biggest crush on her.
Really?
Hugest. I won't even lie. Like watching it again brought all of that flooding back. Just
With young David.
The memories. I was like, wow.
You got the flutter in your heart.
Dude, the way she was looking at Mel Gibson at Riggs. That's how I used to look at her. Won't even lie. Like
that's so
when I was
funny.
younger. Like the hugest crush. I have no idea what her name is.
Yeah.
But I remember watching the movie and just being like, just.
It's funny because like I rewatch it and I'm like, wow, she's a terrible actress.
Oh, it's so bad.
So terrible.
Bad. And that's what I mean
to
by.
the point where I started to realize maybe everyone in the movie except for Danny Glover and Mel Gibson are terrible actors. And what's his name? Gary Busey. Love Gary Busey.
Oh, you know what? Gary Busey says, because he wasn't supposed to do this movie. And it's the first time he'd auditioned for a film in years. And he auditioned for it. And he said that doing this film saved his career at the time.
Wow.
Because he was seen, I think he did some movie and he was seen as a joke. And he lost the weight and got into good shape and all that kind of stuff for this movie. I guess he let it go afterwards.
There you go. Good for you, Gary.
Yeah, but that didn't last.
Yeah, it didn't.
Let's talk about the relationship though with your two characters, Riggs and Murtaugh. Like I was saying, you see Murtaugh with his family, but you also contrast the movie opens with Riggs by himself on his own, like contemplating suicide. Because the movie opens with a Christmas song, but then it goes straight into showing the death of this girl and setting up, like every Shane Black movie, it always starts with the death of some crazy situation. Always. And it's twice as used a prostitute in the death. He did the same thing 3 times.
Wow, there are 3 prostitute deaths in this movie. Is there a prostitute death in The Long Kiss Goodnight?
No.
All right, there you go. That's the only one.
No. But it starts off with the apparent death of apparent suicide, I should say. But then we cut to Mel Gibson trying to commit suicide and establishing that his character is possibly crazy and on the edge. But what I like about his story is that from where the story starts to where it goes, there's a line that I wrote down which I really liked, where when the Riggs jumps off with the guy off of the building. By the way, did you notice that the handcuffs came off when they jumped together?
No.
Yeah, it's a filming error. yeah, that the handcuffs come off. But then anyway, when he jumps off, when he falls off, that's when Murtaugh realizes, oh shit, you are crazy. Mm-hmm. He says that to him, you are crazy, because at first people think it's a
great moment to kind of like, yeah, I will say, like, whether it be directing or writing, I guess writing, they did a really good job, like, just establishing characters in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the film, you fully understand both Murtaugh and Riggs as characters separate from one another. Which, I think is hard to establish, like you said with the opening scene, you see this guy that's getting older that should be happy but isn't, and he's surrounded by all these happy people or whatever. And then you see another guy that's just completely alone, and I felt like contrast, on Christmas, the contrast was really just like, ooh, and you felt it, and you felt for him. Even if you fully didn't understand his story yet, you understood the meaning behind him holding a gun to his head. You understood that feeling and completely sided with his character. So for the rest of the film, even in the beginning, when the guy that's trying to kill himself, where he's talking to him, he's like, dude, believe me, I understand.
Yes.
It's like, you really like, oh, yeah, like I love the scene with him and the guy on the roof.
Yeah, it's cheesy because the other guy can't act for shit.
It's terrible. Oh, he's terrible.
It's completely bad.
That's what I said. I really think there's only 3 good actors in the whole movie.
Yeah, no, completely. I think even when the acting is terrible, the script is written well enough that you understand what it's trying to say.
Exactly.
Because then, like you said, it leads to the next moment with Riggs and Murtaugh. Riggs, because earlier on in the film, people are questioning, is he actually crazy or is he faking it for a pension? That's what people ask. And then when Murtaugh sees him jumping, and then when he falls into the bag and he's laughing, he takes him away. He's like, wow, you really are crazy. This isn't for a pension.
Yeah.
And then Riggs says, But his response is, well, now you know. And that response has always kind of been weird to me, because he's not confirming.
Yeah.
He's saying, now you know. But then at the end of the film, Murtaugh says to Rigg, you'd be crazy to leave me here eating this food by myself. Rigg says to him, you want to know my secret? I'm not crazy. And then Murtaugh says, I know. And I love that. I love that moment, because that's when because it tells you he was never crazy. He was heartbroken.
He was depressed.
That's the thing. He's depressed. His wife died. He's heartbroken. He felt he had nothing. It wasn't that he was crazy and wants to die. He's that he has nothing to lose and doesn't care if he dies.
And he has nothing to live for.
Yes.
You know, and also we saw that. Look at his house. He was in a trailer.
In a trailer.
You know what I'm saying? Like his house was a trailer. It was a mess. You're alone. You know, and like not saying that those are good reasons for anyone to kill themselves, obviously, but you know, saying that at bare minimum we side with him and we get it. You know, and I feel like modern day movies wouldn't necessarily have explained that to us. And this is a hero. That's what I was going to say too. This is a hero. This is a protagonist.
Yes, this is how we start with the protagonist.
Yeah, and that's what I'll also say. Like a lot of movies now, I feel almost have a fear of being that kind of transparent. Yes. So I felt like for the rest of the film, as ridiculous as some of the things Mel Gibson did might have been, as ridiculous as the character Riggs is, you understand, because from the very beginning we established that this is a man on edge.
Yes.
You know, and I love that, because he was literally on a ledge, you know, within the next 20 minutes, you know.
Yes.
And we get to see him just constantly in that kind of predicament. And then I like that in the end, and this to me is subtle, but I feel like, you know, in the end, with him rescuing Danny Glover, you know, I felt like that in a way was kind of a hint at, you know, like now whether he dies or not, he has a cause, you know, like he's living for something. No,
I think that you hit the nail on the head right there, where one, I think there's a distinction between someone who wants to die and someone who doesn't care if they die.
There is a huge difference.
There's a difference, and I think that's what the movie plays with, that line of making us realize that he doesn't, because again, he's a guy that's brave enough, but he can't kill himself. But he would do the crazy stuff that might get him killed. And you know, there's almost a difference in that. But then on top of that, his relationship throughout the film that builds to get to know Danny Glover's character, Murtaugh, and knowing his family and how his family welcomes him in so openly, where everybody, you know, he at the beginning of the film when they first meet, he says, "Oh, nobody wants me around. No one wants to be my partner. You know, why am I here?" So everyone's rejected him, but yet this guy, even though Danny Glover's character doesn't want, it's not like he doesn't want him. He's like, at the end of his,
he doesn't want any partner.
He's about to retire.
Yeah,
you know?
He doesn't want any partner. He's about to retire. Especially not somebody that's a loose cannon.
Yes.
Like when you find out not only are you getting this new partner, but you also have a new partner with a death wish. You're running around with this guy fighting crime. There's a chance he's going to put you in the line of fire. You have things to lose and he doesn't.
Yep. And this is what I like about the movie. It's that usually a lot of buddy comedies or kind of these kind of oddball couple comedies, what happens is that they are at odds at the beginning, and it's just them hanging out together that makes them like each other. This movie is that it's the exact narrative and the exact circumstances that bring them together.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if these circumstances didn't happen, they wouldn't have had the relationship that they had. You know, the circumstances led to them to both realize, oh, we were both in Vietnam, so we have that shared experience, right? And that whole Vietnam thing is an understated thing, but I think it's also the bigger storyline of it, where it's like, it's a message, right? There's a lot of, at the time, there's a lot of people who came back from Vietnam who are going through various situations, and how do we deal with coming back into the real world from someone like, you know, who wants to kill themselves, or someone who's kind of like living as a family man, but he's kind of missing the old glory days, because they're both really good shots. They were both really good at what they did. You know, it's just one's the older version of the other, to the point where even the villain is also an ex-Vietnam person who realize that the government's not going to help me, so I'm going to take things to my own hands and make money my way, even if it's illegal.
Yeah, and you understand, because sadly, America really doesn't look out for vets, especially back then.
And I love the idea of finding out that because you can easily, if it was just the villain, you could be like, well, you're the bad guy. But to know that the girl who had died, her father, who was Murtaugh's friend, he was also involved in it too.
Yeah, and it was messed up because he literally said, like, they approached me when we were getting out. Like, basically, I think it was, like, towards the end of his term or something like that. They approached him with that opportunity. And like he said, it's an opportunity to a vet.
Yep.
You know, to somebody that's coming out with no job and nothing else, and you spend all this time overseas traveling and killing people and shit. You know, it's a hard adjustment to go back to a regular desk job.
Yes. And most desk jobs wouldn't even take you.
No.
You know, because they didn't help people. They couldn't get jobs and things like that. And now this guy's a bank manager, and he's like, how do you think I was able to have this bank?
Exactly.
You know, how do you think, you know, you live this good life? And he's, you know, and that's when you realize both Riggs and Murtaugh are the ones that are the kind of heroes that will live a less than perfect life rather than do the wrong thing.
Exactly.
Because they come from the same core background as the bad guys.
It's almost like you see different sides of the same coin, but
exactly.
If it were a 3-sided coin.
Because guess what, Raven? Guess what, Raven?
What?
They are all lethal weapons.
Oh.
Boom.
I see what you did there. Oh, wow. Wow, drops
Boom.
mic.
Boom.
That's crazy.
And that's why I think the story is such a great layered story, you know, in terms of just the core story. Yes, there's issues on the way there, and there's some kind of filming or kind of error problems. But I think at its core, there's a great character narrative. I think that's what makes the story last over time, is that you really like and understand the characters. And I think the main villain, he's kind of understated. There's not enough personal motivation for him, but you understand
That's
it in contrast.
I wasn't too thrilled with the villain.
No.
I felt like the biggest antagonist in this movie was themselves more so than the actual villain. So I would have liked to see a little more of a backstory from a villain. There were a couple of things that, man, the acting was ass,
so bad,
super ass, like
so
across
bad.
the board, just buns. Like I've never, wow, like good for y'all. Like they should win an award for bad acting.
Bad acting in a good movie.
Because who is Danny Glover's wife? She was terrible too. I was oh God. And then to see where he comes into the house and his family's in a panic. I turned to my girl like that would be my worst nightmare ever. If my family reacted like that in a time of panic. And I instantly was like, yo, I'll be so upset if this is how my daughter reacted when she got kidnapped, son. I feel like Liam Neeson could be more proud of his daughter.
Right.
Like, I'm like, yo, you're mad dramatic. Like, I'm trying to figure some things out right now. Could you relax?
Right.
Wow, Daddy! Wow, wow! Like, what is that?
Did you know the movie was also secretly an anti-apartheid? Had an anti-apartheid agenda as well with this, and Richard Donner kind of wanted to say something about it, and sprinkled throughout the movie, there's little kind of hints anti-apartheid, saying we don't like this, abolish it stickers around the movie. Some of them in Roger Murtaugh's house and throughout the film, and even that scene where they're talking to the little kids, interviewing the kids. One of the kids is wearing a t-shirt, anti-apartheid t-shirt. He's the one that says, "Oh, Mama says policemen kill black people. Is that true?"
Yeah, I love that part.
But it was
crazy because while I was watching, I was thinking to myself too, it's so sad how all of the tropes or all of the...
Nothing has changed.
Yep.
Nothing has changed.
That shit hurt, man. I was like, wow, we're in like the same boat, if not worse, than we were back then. And I'm like, little black kids are still running around scared of cops, you know?
Though I appreciate that the film's narrative doesn't focus on the fact that it's a black and white duo.
I was going to say that too. I think that they did a good job also of having a black family or a black lead character and it not being stereotypical, if that makes sense.
In the
like
80s.
I like that. Yeah, in the 80s. You know, I like that this black man was well-to-do. He had a boat. He don't know how to use the shit, but he has a boat.
But he was about to be retired. He's had a good career.
Yeah, he has a house. He has a family. You know, a family of kids that are in school and doing well. You know, a happy family that isn't torn apart. He's present. You know, so I feel like, you know, I appreciate that they didn't try to go into any black stereotypes. I like that they didn't try to throw any random black slang in the movie to try to seem cool. You know, they didn't try to make Danny Glover down. You know, Hollywood's version of down, quote unquote.
In fact, he couldn't rap. I mean,
Yeah,
neither
he
could the
couldn't rap.
kids.
Oh, that was hilarious. I love that scene. I was like, oh, it's terrible. But it was just so perfect because I was like, Danny Glover seems like he's that guy, though, in real life. Like, I feel like he's definitely that dad.
Yes.
But it's also just spot on, like, dads
But
in general.
also even having Riggs's character witness this as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, seeing this and saying, and kind of feeling at home with that family. Seeing this white guy feeling welcome in this black family.
Yeah. And usually, you know, you would see the opposite, where it's like, you know, a black guy feeling uncomfortable or weird about being around a white family for the first time. Yeah. You know, and it's cool because, you know, cut to another scene and you see Mel Gibson in a trailer park. You know what I'm saying? The white guy is broke and, you know, or seemingly so, and, you know, doesn't have his life together, doesn't have, you know, kids, family, a job that he loves, you know, he's not doing well in his career, stuff like that. It's like that contrast, especially between a black guy and a white guy, I feel like could have easily been extremely different. They could have made that really corny and really cheesy, you know, but I really like the way that they went about it. I feel like it was graceful, you know, and I felt like had the black family been filled with good actors, it would have, you know, really hit home that much more.
It would have been stronger. I think they get better as the films go along.
They do. The little girl's my favorite, though. Yeah. The one that raps. But I think she's the best freaking actor, like, in the movie. I'm like, geez. But when she gets older in the other films, I remember, like, really liking her character.
Yeah. And I think the character journeys are ones that really complement each other, because at the same time that Murtaugh helps Riggs kind of find family, and their relationship, because I feel like their relationship is just, he needed someone to connect with and talk to. Like I said earlier, people were pushing him away, transferring him to different places, nobody wants to deal with him, but the circumstances together lead them to kind of connect together. And so when Murtaugh's daughter gets kidnapped and Riggs is like, you know what, we have to go kill them, we have to go do this, you know, like I think that's when he realizes that, because this is when Riggs can use his skills that he earned in Vietnam. He was an amazing sniper. I love that shot in the sequence in the shooting face? In the shooting gallery.
That was fire. I was like, hell yeah, have a nice day.
He's like, you're good, but I'm better.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Love that.
But their connection, but also saving the daughter, showed that they both have fun and tease each other, but when it comes to getting things done, they are both good at getting things done. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what helps connect them.
I did love how they executed her rescue.
Oh yeah, it was
I said, the worst part was her.
Yes. And I of course, get to the goddamn car, Rian. Get to the fucking
That
car.
is exactly how I felt. I was so mad. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? God damn it, get in the car. I was at home screaming at the TV, get in the fucking car. What are you doing?
A lot of people say this is not a Christmas movie. It is most certainly a Christmas movie. We mentioned earlier
it definitely is.
It has Christmas beginning. It opens with Christmas song, which Richard Donner fought for with Fox. Fox didn't want it, because you know usually they have the dun 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 dun, but it starts with Jingle Bell. It's like Jingle Bell Rock. I think that's what the song is. Yeah, Jingle Bell Rock.
Yeah, I think so.
And then, but we get a death, also in the original script, but they couldn't do it due to budget concerns. There was supposed to be this crash with a truck and a helicopter, but the truck was carrying cocaine. So that way cocaine is spread everywhere. We just see cocaine snowing to the floor as the film
awesome.
ends. That would have been awesome, right?
That's dope. Why didn't I have that, man? It's badass.
But I love how this uses Christmas, though. Again, we mentioned earlier, Christmas for many people is depressing. And even the imagery, it was shot in LA on purpose because he wanted to be anti-Christmas. There's no snow. So the Christmas motifs are very subtle. You see like a wreath here and there. You see like a random Santa Claus in the corner.
I kept telling Paris that I forgot that it was winter. Many times. The movie... Oh, yeah. It's Christmas.
It intentionally makes you forget, but it's there, but it doesn't throw it in your face.
You know what made me remember? What? When they went to the first guy's house, I guess the pimp, I don't really know, the sugar daddy, when they went to his crib and he had the pool. I only noticed because the pool was closed. The pool was closed. I was like, why's the pool closed? I was like, those bitches better be in that pool. Now I'm playing.
But you see, the thing is, I think, let's talk about the directing. I think Richard Donner did some good direction here in sense of making you aware of that, because it becomes a thing moments later, right? Where the guy falls into it and he's trapped in the plastic.
It's so funny.
Things like that.
Like, it's not funny, but it was a pretty funny death scene.
Oh no! I
Like,
mean,
just
everyone
the
had
way it
elaborate
happens.
deaths. It was the 80s time where when people got shot, they clearly had squibs on, and so they would like dramatically launch their bodies.
Yeah. Ha! It's like very ridiculous. I love it though.
Though I would give it to Mel Gibson's Riggs character, his escape scene when he chokes the guy to death with the leg and he takes on everyone. I was like,
Yeah.
he was a badass.
That was badass.
I was
He
like,
killed
nice.
it. I was like, yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah. I'm too old for this shit. I love that. That was not meant to be a big thing.
He
Like
says
Die
it like
Hard's.
every scene.
Yep, like Die Hard's, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. It became a kind of a quote that represented the movie. And I say that to say that, as Riggs' character was helped by Murtaugh to bring him family and closure to his wife's death and realize he's not crazy, he was actually just depressed and he needed connection. Which, by the way, I think the TV show does a better job, because in the TV show they have time to elaborate, and it's the wife who pushes Roger to connect and say, hey, he's clearly depressed, invite him over for dinner, blah blah blah. That's a great way. So they utilize the wife in a much better way. And I guess this is implied, because Roger never wants Riggs to do anything, so maybe it's implied. But anyway, my point I'm trying to say, on the flip side, Riggs also helps Roger realize that maybe he's not yet too old for this shit.
True.
Because the movie opens with him with a beard.
He's not as old as he thinks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's turning 50, but he's still got it. Because by the end of it, he's gone through his action sequence. He's shooting bad guys. One of their end scenes is both of them shooting the guy at the same time with the same speed.
Yeah.
So it's like,
True.
okay, you still got this. And
True.
he realizes that maybe hanging out with him, I won't feel so old all the time.
Yeah.
Because he can't feel, even if he's retired, he can't feel old, because his youngest kid is like, what, 3, 4?
Yeah, he's a young ass kid.
He's got young kids. So
With his
like,
gray hair. You ain't retiring no time soon. Sorry.
see, so it's like, you're too old, but you still did 3 more movies. And I feel like that's what I love about the two characters. They complement each other, and they're very much more alike than they're not. And through the storyline, they find that, okay, we're even similar to the bad guys, but there's a line that we won't cross, even as much as we've been pushed, and there's an honor that we hold on to, even though the world has let go of that and they don't recognize that. We recognize that in each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like about the film. It's the two characters and their growth with each other, and I think that's what's maintained throughout the franchise.
It is a really deep movie under the surface of a buddy cop comedy.
Yes. I think its flaws. Let's talk about the flaws. You mentioned the acting is terrible for the most part.
It really is.
I would say
Fight choreography's ass.
Fight
But it's
choreography
80s.
is bad. I like what's implied, because it's supposed to be these two guys being real and raw and dirty. And I think a movie like
But
Die Hard does it
the issue is
better.
also because they're army vets, that fight would have been way better.
Yes.
Like, it just ended up being a street brawl, which I didn't
Yes.
like.
And I think part of that is due to the directing and cinematography more so. I think you're framing it up close. Sometimes I was like, wait, did you just change locations? Because it looks...
Yeah, I couldn't tell where they were or who was fighting. I didn't even know if it was still Mel Gibson. I'm like, is Danny Glover getting it in the corner too? I don't know whose arm that is.
Oh, wait. Do you know what I actually love and don't love at the same time?
What?
The score.
Yeah,
The
some
score-
of it's too much.
What happened? It would work in funny moments where the saxophone would come on.
Yeah.
Like when it was like, Dad, you're looking old. And it was like, and it'd be fun for comedic purposes. But at other times it wouldn't be as fun. But yeah, Shane Black has actually utilized that a lot in his films. He uses it in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. We had the saxophone is used a lot, but I think it's used better for like more thinky, contemplative moments of character. And I think this movie, it gets some of it right, but gets some of it wrong. Sometimes it can be distracting, I find.
And I like the overall pacing too. I think the movie is paced
Yes.
pretty well.
Like Die Hard. It reminds me of the pacing of Die Hard, where it's not full on action as you think,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's not slow either.
and you're
it
into the characters enough to where you're like, oh, where's this going? Okay.
you actually follow the story, and it's one of those stories where it's complicated but also at the same time straightforward. There's because
Like,
it's
you get
layered.
it.
Yeah, you
get what's
understand it.
going
It's like, okay, this is why this person is doing this and this person did that and this. Even though I wish we spent more time with the villain.
Yeah, exactly, same. That's one of my also critiques is like shitty villain. Thumbs
Yeah.
down on the villain.
Yeah.
Thumbs up for
Yeah.
Gary Busey, who should have just been the villain.
Mr. Joshua.
I feel like I would have preferred him to just be the boss.
I love that scene. It was corny a scene, but
It
I
was
get
so
what they're trying to show.
ridiculous with the fire.
The fire, the burning.
I was
What
like,
are you
what's
doing, man?
supposed to be
What are you doing,
happening?
man? I was like, what? It's not your hand. Why are you scared?
That's the thing. I was watching it the whole time, mad confused. Like, how am I supposed to feel watching this as the audience? Because I couldn't tell what they were trying to like portray. It wasn't until like a scene later I looked back and I was like, I guess they were trying to show he's so tough he doesn't feel burns.
And not just that, he's loyal. Because the guy was questioning, I don't know these guys. You guys are using mercenaries. I don't trust them. What if they turn on us? And he's like, oh, these guys are loyal to us only. And that's why he's like, he's trying to prove if I tell him to burn himself, he will do it until I tell him to stop. And so I get that, but I think it's been done better in other films.
Yeah,
If you want to get across the idea that they will listen to you no matter what. Yeah, there's ways. You could have just said, Mr. Joshua, pull out your arm. Mr. Joshua, burn yourself.
True.
Like, he could have done it to himself. And you're just watching.
That
just
would have
like,
been more
what?
powerful.
You know, things like that.
Because I was just like, okay.
Yeah, you didn't
It
have to
just
hold
felt
the
like over the top. I was like, this is
yeah,
unnecessary.
you didn't have to grab the other guy's hand and make him light it. Like, what?
Yeah, like what? Stupid. That was dumb.
Anything else? The future of the franchise, I think this would go on to affect many it wasn't the first buddy cop film, but I think a lot of it would take from it, though I think some of them didn't do it as well. This is a movie that I will watch again at some point. I think it's every Christmas I will watch this movie and find out more things. It's a fun but flawed movie for me, but it's definitely a movie that you can see was the foundation for what Shane Black specifically would go on to do. 100%. Like, I would say watch this movie and you watch every other Shane Black movie, you can see his growth.
Oh, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Monk Kiss Goodnight is so awesome.
Okay, so next week, like Ray mentioned, we will continue our Christmas, non-Christmas movies series with A Long Kiss Goodnight. So check that out if you haven't seen that in a while, or if you've never seen that. What's her name again? Actress?
Gina Davis.
Yeah, starring Gina Davis as a mother who something happens to her. She realizes that, she has memory loss. A mother with memory loss who in an accident, all her memories come flooding back, and she finds out she used to live a life as an assassin. Also starring Sam Jackson. I
love her.
If you've seen that movie, you understand that reference. Raven, final thoughts on Lethal Weapon?
I think it's a dope movie. I think it still stands and it deals with a lot of social issues that are in the background, but also still very relevant to today. So I think in terms of, if you haven't seen it, you should see it because it's still good and it still stands. And if you have seen it, rewatch it because it's dope.
Yep, I agree. Any other Christmas movie, non-Christmas movies that you guys like and would like to recommend, let us know. info@thenerdybunch.com. What are your views on Lethal Weapon and some of the movies we've spoken about recently, and the upcoming movie we're going to be speaking about, Long Kiss Goodnight? Let us know your views. info@thenerdybunch.com, and we will read them out on our podcast. Also, guys, check out our social media. We're running a couple of competitions. We are giving away free tickets to a couple of movies. We're giving away free tickets to Bumblebee. I see it tonight. Raven, you see it next week, and you guys can see it at the screening with Raven. I'll be at that screening too. So check out our social media, find out how to win tickets to the screening of Bumblebee. We're also, if you don't win the competition, we're also giving away screening passes. So if you go on our website, you can get a pass that will give you, they're not guaranteed seats, but it's first come first serve seats to the screening. So check out our social media and our website for that, thenerdybunch.com. And in a few days we'll also be launching another competition for the screening of Aquaman. For those who want to see it, we're giving away 5+1 tickets as well to the screening of Aquaman, and we're giving away passes to Aquaman as well. So if you want information about those two screenings, check out our social media pages at The Nerdy Bunch and our website, thenerdybunch.com. Thank you, Raven, as always.
Thank you guys for listening. Y'all are dope.
Seriously, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. We love hearing from you guys. We love hearing that you guys like to hear us.
I'm slowly gonna start coming out of the shadows in 2019, so maybe you guys will actually see me.
All right, Raven, thank you guys. As always, my name is English Dave, and as always, guys, keep it nerdy.
Peace.